Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to be talking about the consolidated numbers for Lucky Day and the overnights for the story and the engine. Now, the story and the engine had an overnight figure of 1.59 million. You can see right here. That is about third place for the season. The Robot Revolution had 2 million views, being the season opener. That is usually a little higher. And the Well had 1.86. Then we have the story and the engine being just a little above Lux, which had 1.58, and Lucky Day, which had 1.5. Still lower numbers, traditionally speaking. Some of the lowest numbers the show has ever had. Trying to also take into account viewing habits are different now, and that even the shows that have the highest viewing numbers aren't hitting the numbers they used to. I believe Britain's Got Talent was number one for last week with only like 4.89 million, which of course it used to get considerably higher. And then Lux's Consolidated gives us our first Doctor Who 7-day consolidated under 3 million. Once again, Battlefield Part 1 is off the hook, even though it's kind of been like that since Lux. Of course, Battlefield Part 1 had 3.1 million, and all they really had was overnights back then, since it only broadcast one time. With Lucky Day having a consolidated of 2.80, which of course is the lowest 7-day consolidated the show has ever had, breaking Lux's record of 3 million. Also the first time the 7-day consolidated has dropped below 3 million. Looks like they managed to gain about 1.3 million over the week, which is a little less than usual. I think typically it gets about 1.5, pretty consistently around 1.5 on the 7-day. A little over here, you can see a little under here. What was that? A little under there. Yeah, usually around that 1.4, 1.5. So 1.3 here. And then I do think next week's consolidated will be a little higher, with it having 1.59 being higher than Lucky Day. Whether it'll hit 3 million or not, that'll be close. It could. I expect it to hit about 2.9 to 3 million for the consolidated. Right around there is what I'm expecting. The numbers have been kind of seesawing, though. We did see a big dip from episode 1 to 2. That's understandable. A lot of people tune in for the season premiere, and then it kind of dips down. That's normal. Same thing with the consolidated. So we saw a dip. We saw a spike with the Well. I think part of that's because people enjoyed Lux, and I do think a previous episode can affect the next episode. Because, if this episode's good, people are going to be more likely to tune into the next episode. Whereas, if this episode is bad, people are less likely to tune into the next episode. So I think people liked Lux, and the Well looked interesting in theory. Plus, it had leaked out about it possibly being a sequel to Midnight. So I think that garnered some attention, and we went back up a fair little margin here, almost 300,000 views here, which I think is a good rebound for the middle of the season. And then we dropped back down again for Lucky Day, maybe because it was a Dr. Light story. Maybe people just didn't think it was going to be that interesting. Big drop. And then we had a slight peak back up for the story and the engine, which it was a good episode. So it peaked back up about 90,000. And of course, the consolidated have seesawed like that too. You dropped about 500,000, a little over. Here, again, common with the premiere, went back up a little bit. Although the Consolidateds, like this one gained more than this one gained, it looked like, over that period. I'm doing my math right in my head. So it went back up a little bit, went down about 40,000 total, almost 40,000 here. And I think next week we're going to be looking at about 2.9 to 3 million for the Consolidated here is what I'm expecting. So yeah, Doctor Who continuing not to have the best viewing numbers, although I do believe Lucky Day was like, across the week, the consolidated numbers, it was like the number one BBC show for the night. I also believe it was like third or fourth overall, with Britain's Got Talent taking number one, and I still think it only had 4.89, which 5 years ago would have been a lot higher. So you try to look at that in context with the viewing figures everything is doing. I still think they would prefer better numbers, but I still don't think this is the the final nail in the coffin it would have been if the show was getting this number 5 years ago, or even just like 3 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. But it was nice to see that from episode 4 to episode 5, we did get a slight increase in viewership, going from 1.5 to 1.59. So I want to know what you think of this season so far, what you think of these viewing numbers, and what you think they mean for the future of the show. Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button as well. All the other fun stuff that you can find down in the description, links to the Patreon, links to the Amazon wish list, links to the Amazon UK wish list, which I believe I have fixed now so it can send stuff. There were some problems with that one for a little while. I think I've got that taken care of. And the P.O. box is down there as well if you want to mail anything directly. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons: Finn Perkins, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, and Unknown289. I do appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. Most importantly, thank you for watching.